Welcome, my name is Phil, and today we're going to talk about the features of MechWarrior 5 Mercenaries DLC, Heroes of the Inner Sphere. Let's dive in. MechWarrior 5 Mercenaries and the first DLC, Heroes of the Inner Sphere, is now on multiple platforms, including Steam, GOG, EGS, and Microsoft PC, with also the Xbox. If you have a Game Pass, you can actually log in on the console or PC. It's really up to you. You have that flexibility now. With the introduction of the new platforms, the game has full cross-play compatibility. That's right, your buddy who owns it on EGS, you can drop with on Steam. If you own it on console, you can also drop with someone who has it on GOG, and so forth and so on. Full cross-play compatibility. Not only can you play with all platforms, you can host the DLC and your friends can connect with you regardless if they own it or not. So you can experience the DLC and any future DLC through their gameplay. Here's where the Inner Sphere introduces Career Mode. Career Mode bypasses the main story campaign and lets you take hold of a mercenary company and prove yourself out in the Inner Sphere. When you first select Career Mode, you have to choose between 6 starting locations that is also connected with the house that currently owns that space. First up, we have House Davion, Free Rosselhog Republic, House Liao, House Karita, House Merrick, and House Steiner. The selection you make will affect which mechs you are given and your starting location, but also keep in mind it does not affect your standing with any of the other factions, so you don't have to worry about any negative reputation already. It's a fresh start, so you actually get to determine your relationship with any of these houses moving forward. Next, we're going to talk about career paths. Career paths allows you to take jobs to earn XP that goes towards unlocking traits for your battle mech via the mech upgrades. Now, how you go about this is you're going to unlock Cantinas. Cantinas will unlock automatically on the star map when you hit a certain level on the mercenary view board. Then you'll notice them appear on the star map on industrial planets. When you go to the home page, you'll notice Cantinas are now available. So let's go and talk about that when we click one, and I'll demonstrate what's going on. So over on the left side here is we have jobs that are being offered. You can only have 6 at any given time. So for instance, we're going to look at the Mech Hunter. Now, if we go to operations, you'll notice that Mech Hunter is these line of mech upgrades. So far we've unlocked 2, and if we go back here, we can see that all I have to do to complete this is kill 3 Wolverine mechs. Now, it offers C-bills, XP, some weapons, and of course, reputation with that particular faction. So this is offered by pirates. So this is a way for you to actually increase your reputation without also doing necessarily the missions, or you can at least improve it without having to do missions. Also, along with that, you'll notice here 10 career reputation, and of course it gives you career progress, right? So when I do this and I complete this, I'm upgrading the mech collector here. Now, some of these jobs will require you to do different things. If we look at the War Dog, you're going to have to kill 5 Igor units. Now, there are some out there that you have to collect stuff like mechs and then turn them in, or certain types of weapons, like for instance, 5 level 0 flamers, and then you turn that in and you get the rewards as well. Now, once you do these and once you complete them, they are going to show up on the jobs here on the front page. They will highlight green when they're ready. All you got to do is click them and click claim, and that's all you have to do. And of course, if you do have to turn in a mech, it'll pop up with a little UI. You select the mech and the weapon, and there you go. That's all you have to do. Now, once you unlock those, the cool thing is you can go to your battle mechs and you can equip whatever upgrades that you want. Now, these upgrades, of course, require time and C-bills, of course. So C-bills and then how much they equip, and it depends on what you're wanting to do. So this is a Hunchback 4H. I want to increase its structure by 5%. You can see here the before and after numbers. And then I want to increase the, let's just say, the energy cooldown. So I'm going to do condensed cycle time, aerodynamic hull. We don't really need that, but let's increase the torso twist speed, protecting that right torso. What about Excel, DXL? And last but not least, what about anchor turn? And of course, these all upgrade these stats. Now, these are attached to the mech. Like I said, this would cost me 42 days and 1 million C-bills to complete. I can remove them at any point in time. They are not permanent, but you can only use 1 per. Now, there are level 2 ones that, of course, we haven't unlocked. And if we go back here, you'll see that some of these require 2 slots. The DLC also adds 7 new chassis to the game. That includes the Champion, the Charger, the Corsair, the Dervish, the Hatamoto Chi, the Marauder 2, and the Vulcan. Now, as you go out there and you take new jobs via the Cantina and you're looking for a certain mech and maybe you can't remember where it is, there is a nice little tool, a catalog, to be able to keep track of mechs that you've encountered and where they are, or where they're common or least common or super rare. Go up to operations, go to stats, down here at view database. All you gotta do is click that. And as you can see here, it's going to list in alphabetical order what mechs you've encountered. If you see any ones with a question mark, that means you haven't encountered said mech. Now, when you click on each mech, to the right, it'll show all the variants currently available in MechWarrior 5. And of course, the DLC will have a notation as well with a little indicator. And we'll go and show you what that looks like. Here you can see champion, and you'll see this little DLC icon right here. So if you're looking for, let's just say, a cicada, all you got to do is navigate down to cicadas. You click on cicada 2A, and it'll actually tell you where in the inner sphere, which house, the rarity of you encountering them is. So if you're in Davian space, they're very rare. But if you're wanting to look for them, as you can see, very common. So you head over to Liao space for the cicada 2A. And that's a really nice feature when you're taking Cantina jobs looking for certain targets. But also, if you're like me and I want to collect certain mechs, maybe, just maybe, you go in those areas and you look for the hero mechs for purchase in the industrial zones as well. So just sort of keep that in mind. This is a nifty tool. And if you're like me and you just want to encounter every single mech out there and or variant, you now have the option as well. The DLC also adds 7 new hero mechs and 7 new quest lines. These are actually very fun and entertaining, and I don't want to get into spoilers on this, so I'm not going to show any gameplay. But first off, how do you find them and how do you navigate to them? If you don't run across one in the star map, but in this case we did here, again, campaign mission, we have bow and arrow. All we have to do is travel there, but let's just say we don't see anything. And do we have one available? All you gotta do is go to operations, go to objectives log, and here we have it, bow and arrow. And this is actually for the Free Worlds League. Now the cool thing is you may not know what planet it's on. Well, down at the bottom, it's view systems. All we got to do is click that, and this will actually take you to the planet that hero mech quest is a part of. So now all you got to do is travel there and do the missions and do the quest line. Now, of course, like I said, I don't want to spoil anything. Have fun doing it, and just make sure to make good decisions out there. As you move forward in your career path, you're going to run into a new mission type, and that's Beachhead. Here we actually have an example. Beachhead is a multi-dimensional type mission where you have multiple objectives to achieve. Your primary, of course, is to get to the garrison and destroy the enemy forces there. You have secondary objectives, which is locating these artillery, and that is what you can see bombarding me right now. On your HUD, you do have some indicators where some artillery emplacements are, and I'm going to go ahead and navigate and take some out while we're talking here. Now, you also have destroy satellite uplinks. What is satellite uplinks? Well, if you get to destroy those satellites, you actually get reinforcements. They are AI-controlled mechs, vehicles, and VTOLs that can help assault the primary and secondary objectives here. Now, of course, the decision is up to you. Do you go for the artillery? Do you make your life a little bit easier when you're hitting the primary objectives? Or do you just go around the map and take your time? Really, the decision's up to you. Whether or not you take fast or heavy or assault mechs, again, is going to be determined by you. Just keep in mind, if you're in very, very slow assault mechs, it may not be the best. Again, you're bringing a lot of firepower, but you're also very vulnerable to these hitting you. And as you're trying to progress out of them, they do a lot of rear damage. So just sort of keep that in mind. That is your PSA warning for Beachhead missions. These can be very easy, depending, and they can also be very brutal. So just sort of keep that in mind. You have to weigh your options. I tend to find that heavies and mediums do a really good job, but as you progress, you're going to have to decide what works best for you. Heroes of the Inner Sphere also introduces supply crates. You'll actually see these via UI. When you see one, all you got to do is run up to it, hold down E to collect the salvage, and then Rihanna will actually tell you what you get salvaged. Now, these can be found throughout a battlefield, so it's going to be up to you whether you run around and search for them. And in this case, we got a machine gun with some C-bills, but in other cases, I've also got large pulse lasers and so forth and so on. So really, the exploration's up to you. You don't have to do it. One of the coolest features of Heroes of the Inner Sphere that I found was airstrikes. Airstrikes can now be negotiated just like C-bills and salvage. How to use airstrikes and what do I find them best for? I actually find them best for concentrated areas such as a demolition mission just like this, or if you have enemies that are really tight knit together. So let's go ahead and use this for example. We have 2 airstrikes. I want to go ahead and lay one. I'm going to go ahead and hit H. It's going to bring up new UI. And if I hold down, you can actually see the impact zone here. And so as long as I hold down and I let go, I can sort of rearrange and see. So I'm going to go ahead and pick this area right here. I think this is going to be the biggest impact area. Let's go and do that right there and bring the rain. Keep in mind, this doesn't distinguish between friendly units and enemies. So please don't be in the area when this lands. And as you can see, it's pretty widespread, highly destructive. And if you find these effective in this environment, you'll also find them effective against, again, urban environments. There is a cooldown, you'll notice there to the right, of the next one available if you negotiated that many points towards the airstrikes. So here again, we go to demonstrate, hit H, bring up the UI, place it or find a place that you want it. Let's go ahead and find it right there. Okay, it's going to bring in again. You'll see the aerospace fighter fly across there and incoming rounds dropping. Again, you can use this on targets as far as buildings. You can also use it on enemy targets as well. Have fun. And again, make sure not to be in the area when that drops or your friendlies. The DLC also includes a few new weapons, including which is the chemical laser. This is actually an old weapon system that's still used in the periphery states and some minor houses, but it requires ammo. The trade-offs here for this particular weapon system is the ammo, and of course the damage is less than the standard version. And we can go and compare those. A level 3 chem laser here, 5 tons, 8.8 damage. And of course, if we look at the heat, 2.25 and a max range of 742. When we compare that to a tier 3 large laser, you can see 11 damage, 6.75, almost 3 times the amount of heat. So that's the trade-off. Now, this is 5 tons, that's 5 tons. This would require at least an additional half ton to full ton of ammo as far as this weapon's concerned. But you can see you don't have to invest as much into cooling efficiency if you have something like this. So again, if you are low on tonnage as far as to include heat sinks, or you want to include other weapon systems, the chem lasers are actually a good alternative. They hit a little bit less hard, and of course they generate significantly less heat, but they also do require investment as far as tonnage for ammo. So that's the chem lasers. And of course the other energy included with the DLC is short burst lasers. They do a little bit less damage, have a little bit higher firing rate, and because that duration is shorter, you have to be a little bit more accurate where you're placing that shot so all the damage goes to that location. But again, it goes back to playstyle, what you like. Again, if you like to deliver that quick damage to certain locations, then this is the weapon for you instead of the regular and or medium pulse. Diving into the ballistic editions, we actually have mech rifles. Again, these are an antiquated design, but you're still going to see them out there. Now, what is the difference here? The first thing is they hit hard as far as their damage, similar to an autocannon, but their firing rate is significantly less and their heat generation is significantly higher. So again, these are good weapons, I find, at the very beginning, but you're going to be seeing them outclassed by better autocannons as you move forward in the career path. But keep an eye out. Again, 18.9 damage here on a heavy rifle. Tier 2 is nothing to mock, and it will, again, do some nice damage, and of course, it sounds awesome. Also included are Streak SRMs. These are a lock-on SRM that when fired, they home towards their target. So you can find these throughout the inner sphere, and of course, they can be very effective against light targets. The next piece of equipment we're going to talk about is mask. Now this comes in all shapes and sizes, and it depends on which weight class it's being equipped to. In this case, we're going to use the 3, for example, and of course mask is Mymer accelerated signal circuitry, and it basically is, it enhances the output of the mech's muscles, and in doing so, its byproduct is heat, and it will damage your mech's legs if you keep it on. So again, you can activate that with whatever hotkey you so desire. And of course, you can see here what it does is it gives you a speed boost of 50%. So if you're going 50 kph, you'll go now 75 kph. Acceleration boost, deacceleration boost, turning, and of course the damage interval. And that means when you're crossing over into the damage threshold, it'll warn you that it's every 0.75 seconds. And as you can see the full damage and minimum damage. Now, I actually really like mask when using it, but again, only certain chassis have this ability. Some of the newer variants have it. So just be on the lookout for that. Only some mechs can equip mask. Same thing with the supercharger, which is very similar, that generates heat and can do damage to the center torso instead of the legs. Another piece of equipment that has introduced is the big ol' active probe, BAT for short. And that's going to actually allow you for 360-degree non-line of sight radar detection. And this is actually really useful if you have targets in the vicinity, and its base sensor range gives you plus 25%. So base sensor range on mechs is 800. So this would give you an additional 200, giving you 1,000 meters. Enhanced non-LOS sensor range, 450 meters. Again, that is what it can detect around you. So from your point around you is 450 meters. So if anything pops up, you now have the ability to target it right away. You do not have to have a line of sight. Also included with the equipment is electronic countermeasures, ECM, out there. There's two different types that you're going to see, a prototype and then Guardian ECM. Guardian ECM is the final product, which is 1.5 tons, and the original is 3.5 tons. Now, you can only equip this just like mask and superchargers on mechs that have a ECM slot. So if you include this, this helps guard you and friendly units within the radius against homing weapons like LRMs. So basically think of it like a bubble that gives you coverage. You also are going to impact them in a negative way if you're really close to them, and that'll affect their enemy hostile as far as modifiers here. You can see LRM spread, streak spread, hostile accuracy modifier, -20. This all affects the enemies. So if you're near your enemies, you're going to be messing them up, which allows you to do damage and them not be able to be as efficient back. So anyways, that's where you're going to see Guardian ECM. As you move through in your career, you're going to start seeing these come on board. And of course, you will see them in the stores and markets, so you can buy it there as well. And that wraps up the features for MechWarrior 5 Mercenaries first DLC, Heroes of the Inner Sphere. Enjoy and good luck.